Hello folks, Grey Wolf here. It's the 15th of April 2018 and today here in the UP of Michigan we are expected to get somewhere between 8 and 18 inches of snow. As you can see by this video, Old Man Winter is digging his claws in and trying to hang on. It's not going to work, but we're supposed to get 8 to 12 inches today of this. This time last year we were out at our intentional community Roots and Runes digging fire pits and mowing and cleaning land and preparing for one of our yearly festivals. Today I am snuggled up in the house with my ever-present tankard of mud and doing projects. One of the projects that I'm going to share with you on this video, we ran out of fire starters. We used peat pots, the little planter pots, pine shavings, and melted wax to make our fire starters. That's me. I'm here to share my day with you, and many blessings, and we'll get on with this. So looking at this, you might think that I am getting ready to do plant seeds and get things ready for a garden. These are the peat cups for that, but in fact what I'm getting ready to do is make fire starters. We use these to hold the pine shavings, and as you can see here, that's sort of my version of a double broiler. It's just water in the bottom of a pan. The bowl is something that I found at St. Vinny's, and the wax that's in there now is candles that I found at thrift stores, and it's boiling over, so I'll turn the heat down just a little. That's melted candles basically. We save all of our candle pieces and parts and use them in our fire starters, and once these are finished they burn for about 20-25 minutes. Real easy way to make fire starters, and they smell good. The only thing I will tell you, if you haven't used a double broiler before, you can kind of see the water boiling around that bowl. If you turn this up too high in order to try to get the wax to melt quicker, and I just did just so you can see, and now it's not going to do it. That water will boil over just like that and get down into the stove. You can see there, get down on the burner. So you can't turn it up real high. You can turn it up a little bit to get the hot water hot to start with, and then you have to turn it down or it boils over, and I've actually had to put my burner out. One of the things I want to show you is these peat cups have holes in the bottom of them. You see that hole? And when they're used for the proper purposes, that's for drainage when you're watering your plants. So in making these fire starters, there's a process to stop that hole up with the shavings so that the wax doesn't run all the way through and just leak out into the container. And we'll show you that now. Okay, so these bags of pine shavings we get at Tractor Supply cost about $6. I make these fire starters 50, 100 at a time, and this bag is still almost halfway full, so it lasts a long time. When you're working with it, can you shine down in here? Mm-hmm. When you're working with it, it's packed, so you got to loosen it up and break it up before you start filling your peat cups, just so you've got the loose bedding. And then what I do is I take just a fingerful and put down in and stop that hole up. You can put paper in the bottom if you want to. I have found that it doesn't really make any difference as long as you compact the shavings down in there pretty good. It prevents the wax from just running through and going, not doing a good job. And just like that. You don't want to fill these too full because the wax will run out over the edge. But obviously the fuller you can get them and pack it down, the longer your fire starter is going to burn. So just like that, and I set it over in the container and grab another one, and it's just a repetitive process until these are all full. I fill them all up and then start doing the wax, and that'll be the next step. Okay, so we're back. We've got all of our cups filled. There you go. And you see I've got this container. It was a soap mold, but I'm using it for holding these fire starters so wax doesn't get everywhere. I try to get it as close as I can, get the handles of the double broiler out of the way, get that close, because regardless of how careful I am, wax does drip and gets on stuff. So I'm trying to minimize my cleanup. So all I do, I've got the melted wax, take the spoon in it. I use the paper plate just to make sure I don't get it everywhere. Hover it right over the one you're going to do, and just like that. And it's just a repetitive process for all 25 of them. And if you're like me, I have to pay attention to the paper plate, because sometimes I'll forget about it and drip wax from it where it shouldn't be. So I try to keep that over the fire starters just in case. Obviously, if wax gets down on the soap molds, not a big deal. And that's
because we don't actually use them for soap.
We don't actually use them for soap, yes.
Because that would be a big deal.
That would be a big deal. There was something else. Oh yes, if you'll notice the color in the wax. I started, the first time I did this, I had a big green candle, and I realized that it was a lot easier to tell which one of the fire starters I had finished by having colored candles or color in the wax, because when I first started I used white candles, and once I put the wax on I really couldn't tell which ones I had covered. So by having colored candles or color of some kind in the melted wax, it really does help. Your choice, it's just what I prefer. And basically that's it for 25 of them. By the time I get finished with them, these on this end will be cool, and I can start taking them out and boxing them. Once the fire starters cool down, the wax cools down, I take them out of the repurposed soap mold, and you can see, if I didn't use that, how much wax would end up, and I've cleaned those out some. That would be on the counter if I didn't have that to contain it in. So anyway, I take it out and I just box them. There's 25 in there. This box will hold about 75, I think. So I'll do 3 more batches of these and then be done. Okay, so I took a little break. Getting back to it, I have another 25 cups ready for melted wax. The ever-present tankard of delicious, steamy, tasty mud. I mentioned earlier that when I first started doing these, I was using white candles. It was very difficult to see, other than just a discoloration, which cup I had sealed. And then I melted a green candle one day and realized with that green tint it was a lot easier to see where I had been. And now I have red candles in there with a mixture of blue and some others. But I am trying to use colored candles from now on, or a coloration of some kind. I don't buy my wax raw. I go to thrift stores and find used candles, so I can kind of pick and choose, if they've got colored candles over white candles. But if their price is right, I get them all. So anyway, that's that. I'll be back to it and come back and finish this later.